Reading of Monster Man by Glyn Parry. Page 124. Places to hide. The girl stood in the doorway of the beach shack with her back to Melanie. She clutched the pink elephant. "Do you suppose he's gone for good?" Melanie was ignored. "Look, we need to talk." The girl turned to face her, then looked away again. Melanie got a shock. She looked exhausted, even sickly. God, what was he doing to her? Melanie wished she could move her hands or feet. She was grateful for the freedom to speak, even if the freedom came with a price. Whoever he was no fool. She relived the long, bumpy ride and guessed they must be kilometres from the nearest help. No one would hear her cries, so she saved her voice. "Please, we have to get away from here." The tiny figure took a step outside and Melanie's pulse quickened. "No, please don't ignore me. We're in danger." The girl stepped back inside the beach shack. "Monster said be good." She spoke with great deliberation. "Monster's in charge." "No, you don't understand. You must listen to me. Monster will hurt Mummy. I have to be good or else." "But Monster isn't real." "Is so." "No, you've got to believe. It's so real." She marched up to Melanie and kicked sand. Melanie barely turned her face away in time. "What are you doing?" The girl stood over her, arms folded tight against her chest, and that pink elephant crushed against her side. "It's so real. I've seen Monster." Confused, Melanie nodded anyway. "Okay, I believe you." The girl sat down directly opposite her, legs crossed. She said nothing, simply sat there, looking at her feet, toes curling in the sand. "Do you have a name?" Melanie tried to sound calm, indifferent. Nothing. "My name is Melanie. I'm 16 years old." "Heffalump is 4. The girl held up her pink elephant. "Mama gave him to me when I was born." "Do you know what happened to Mummy?" Her face darkened. Melanie changed the subject. "Can you help me loosen my wrists? They're getting really sore." The request was ignored. Suddenly she was on her feet again, arms swinging by her side. "Please." The girl walked back to the doorway. A late model Ford sedan, an unmarked pursuit vehicle, sat in the car park. Was theirs as long as they needed it. "Don't ask." Leo helped carry out the luggage. "Let's just say a friend in the traffic branch owed me some." "This friend," said Patrick. "Can he get us 2 more like it?" Leo hesitated. "Sure, what the hell?" "Good." Patrick placed his suitcase in the boot. ASAP. The single-line highway out from Geraldton Airport fed through sheep and wheat country and onto the coastal city some 15 kilometres away. "What happened to the trees?" Beverly observed the gnarled trunks bent low as if to scoop up the dust. The horizon blurred. "Blame the wind. Weird, huh? Seeing how balmy it is today. But when she's a-blowin', she blows it up a treat. Reckon this place is windsurfer's paradise." They reached a wasteland of suburbia. Every house, every street looked familiar. It was hard to imagine 20,000 separate lives clumped together here. Multiply that figure right across the state, the nation, and the thought of 2 girls alone with Samuel Levine was depressing. Why would he make a one-off payment to a Geraldton florist? Patrick's fingers moved down the MasterCard statement. He ignored the running commentary. "Maybe he digs flowers," joked Leo, pulling up at a set of traffic lights. "Right, there's your police station." Patrick pulled out his notebook and jotted something down. "It's hot." Beverly looked past the police station and caught a glimpse of the Indian Ocean. The water looked inviting. "I'll get out here." Patrick threw off his seatbelt. "There's something I want to check." "No, wait." Beverly watched him. He climbed out, ignored the police station across the road and looked straight ahead. "I'll see you both later. Arrange dinner for 6 sharp. The lights changed to green. Levine braked hard. No, it couldn't be. He dropped into reverse and backed the panel van up a metre or so on the dusty track. There. Damn it. Fresh tyre impressions. Slow, curving away from the track and onto the beach. He jumped out of his panel van and scrambled up the nearest sand dune. He didn't have to look very far. There, not more than 50 metres away, sat the ancient Land Rover. A beach rod ran the length of the vehicle. No sign of an owner. Levine ran back to his own vehicle and drove further along the track, following the winding curves that led to the trees and the beach shack. He stopped again and ran onto the beach. This time he saw the owner, throwing a tennis ball into the breakers. The dog, a clumsy-looking golden Labrador, ran playfully up to the water's edge and jumped away each time a new wave broke. How close? 1, possibly 2 kilometres this side of the beach shack? Did the guy even know it existed, hidden away behind the dunes? No matter, he couldn't afford the risk. He sprinted back through the heavy sand to his panel van. Maybe he could make up a story, just long enough to get the girls away. The Land Rover was out of sight. He could say he saw 2 kids tampering with the fishing gear. Hell, they looked like they were stealing everything, anything. Foot to the floor, Levine drove at speed. He almost collected the base of a leaning tree, felt one heavy branch collide with the panel van. But he couldn't stop now. Not now, with the prize so very, very close. The beach shack had never been intended for comfort. Melanie studied the sand floor. She saw cigarette butts, fragments of crayfish casing, numerous empty beer cans. It would be dark in an hour or two. Did he really expect them to sleep here? She didn't like to think about the loud invasion of insects on their way to join her, or worse. Defeated, she leaned back against the side of the beach shack in an effort to get comfortable. Ouch! A flap of corrugated iron curled past the jar of support. Her forearm brushed against its sharp edge. The girl hadn't noticed. She stood in the doorway watching the day close down. I wonder where we are. Melanie tried to sound normal. She leaned slightly forward until her fingertips located the flap of torn metal. How sharp? Sharp enough. She lined up the cord binding her wrists together. She moved her arms up and down, using all of her weight to work the cruel edge. Snagged, jerked loose. What if she missed and ripped through an artery instead? Mummy's taking me to Disneyland. Face turned away. The girl sounded happier, but it was impossible to tell. If I'm a good girl. It'll be fun. Melanie had to keep her spirits up. Maybe you'll meet Minnie Mouse. Back home, I have a Minnie Mouse doona. What's a doona? Melanie never got the chance to explain. At that moment, somewhere along the beach, a vehicle slowly approached. Its heavy motor laboured in the sand. End of the road unless you've got a 4-wheel drive. The golden Labrador padded past the doorway, its tail still visible, then steered round and poked its nose past the girl and inside the beach shack. It dropped a tennis ball at the girl's feet. Doggy! The girl patted the golden Labrador on the head, picked up the tennis ball and threw it outside. The animal barked. Over here! Shouted Melanie as loudly as she could. The dog fetched the tennis ball back and dropped it on the girl's feet once more. This time, when she threw the ball, she ran after the dog, clapping her hands wildly when it lumbered after its prize and fetched it back once more. Good doggy! The golden Labrador barked loudly. Melanie noted its excited grin. Unseen, the vehicle now drew level with the beach shack. Help! We're over here! She listened for the whine of the motor to change, to indicate that the driver was heading in off the beach and through the softer sand. Over here! With the girl outside, she worked frantically on her wrists. Please! The vehicle sounded so close they had to hear. We need help! The help never came. The vehicle stayed on its original course. Melanie listened as it continued its slow journey along the beach. No, don't go! She watched the golden Labrador pick up its tennis ball for the last time and pad past the girl and the beach shack and out of sight. Doggy! The girl shouted after it but made no attempt to follow. Quickly! Go chase the doggy! Melanie felt the cord jerk a notch as she pushed down hard on the protruding metal, madly sawing the frayed cord even though it sat dangerously close to her flesh. Go see! The girl just stood there, watching the dog disappear between 2 sand dunes and back onto the beach. Over here, don't leave us! No use. They were already too far away. Melanie hated the fading insect-like drone the motor made as the driver continued on. After several minutes, the cord snapped and she pulled her hands free. What are you doing? Demanded the girl, suddenly noticing. Melanie ignored her and carried on working the knot binding her ankles together. There might still be a chance. No, that's bad! It's not bad, snapped Melanie. We've got to get away from this place before Bad! The girl marched up to her and her tiny fists swung wildly, sometimes connecting, mostly missing. Monster will get mad! Hey, quit that! Melanie tried to ignore the small blows raining down on her head and shoulders. Another minute passed. The knot came undone. She quickly curled her fingers through the looping cord and pulled her right foot free. Both feet. I said, quit that! The girl turned and fled. Her small body dashed out of the doorway and along the rough track. Melanie jumped up and tried to give chase. At first her feet would not obey, and she was forced to rest against the jar of support to stop herself falling over. Outside, the girl stopped and watched her from a safe distance. Crazy. Couldn't she see that she was on her side, that she only wanted to help? Something distracted the girl and she spun round. The panel van. Melanie watched it clear the last bend and brake sharply. Now it was her turn to run. She fell, picked herself up again, fell again. Already he was out of the van and headed her way. Melanie cursed her swollen feet, jumped up and ran outside. Which way? Beach? If she chose the beach, he wouldn't be able to drive after her. She scrambled to the top of a steep dune. Somewhere close by she heard him shouting instructions to the girl. She saw the ocean. There was no vehicle to be seen, but she saw the disappearing curve of its tread marks, the twin impressions swallowed in the places by the hissing shoreline. She charged down the soft slope, sand pulling at her legs as she went. Let me go! At the bottom of the slope his arms swung out to grab her. He must have used a shorter route. She grappled with him, pushed him off with all her might and twisted free, running now as fast as she could. He was faster. Melanie wheeled across the sand and went back to the way she had come. How must it have looked to the casual observer standing along the shore? A wild game of chasey? But no one saw her desperate flight as she wheeled and turned, ducking and weaving along the beach, until she found a gap between two dunes, and then he fell. She heard his loud animal cry as his body pitched forward in the sand. For a moment there she thought he wasn't going to get up. When she glanced back, she saw him fumbling inside his trouser pocket for something. The knife? Had she finally gotten him so pissed off that he now intended to kill her right here on the beach? No more socials, no more friends, Mum destroyed? But it wasn't the knife. Thank God it wasn't the knife. She saw him suck on a Ventolin inhaler. Melanie kept going. If she could just reach the panel van in time, she might be able to signal for help. She ran onto the track. He couldn't be more than 30 metres behind her. Glancing back a second time, she saw him getting to his feet. Up front, the girl sat in the passenger seat of the panel van. Melanie raced past, reached for the rear of the van and threw open the back doors. Toolbox. She pulled the toolbox over and its contents spilled onto the grubby carpet. Matches. She tore the box apart. Get out! Melanie screamed the instruction. Get out now! She dived forward, pulled the jerry can over and threw back its lid. Petrol gushed everywhere, splashing tools soaking into the carpet. Get out, I said! But the girl sat there, squeezing the pink elephant tight. Now! One look at her face said it all. She had no intention of getting out. Not now, not ever. Please. He was suddenly there, closing the gap between them. Melanie kicked the van door. She swore loudly and dropped the matches.